What's more dangerous, a tsunami or a regular cold? Hey friends, let's jump straight into the big question without any small talk. What do you think would kill more people on our planet? A huge 15-meter tsunami wave? Or just a regular everyday virus? The kind that we all catch maybe 100 times over a single winter. Most folks would answer right away without even thinking about it. The tsunami, obviously. But here's the thing. There's actually one special place on Earth where it's completely the other way around. And I'm not talking about some wild theory or an old story or a what-if scenario. This is real life, and it's happening right now, here in 2026. Picture this. An island about the size of Manhattan, sitting out there in the middle of the Bay of Bengal. On that island lives a tribe that almost nobody has ever gotten a good close look at. People call them the Sentinelese. How many of them are there exactly? Somewhere between 50 and 200. Nobody really knows the precise number. They've been living in total isolation from the rest of the world for tens of thousands of years. Genetically speaking, they're basically direct descendants of people from the Stone Age. They don't grow any crops, they don't harvest anything, and they don't keep any animals like cows or goats. They get by through hunting, fishing from simple dugout boats, and just taking whatever the jungle gives them. As far as anyone from the outside has ever seen, they don't actually make fire themselves. Maybe they just keep old fires going from lightning strikes or leftover campfires. But there's no real proof either way. And here's the most important part. They are super aggressive and hostile towards any outsiders who try to come near. Back in 2004, when that devastating tsunami tore across the Indian Ocean and took more than 200,000 lives, the Sentinelese people mostly survived it. The Indian government sent a helicopter out to check on them and see how they were doing. And guess what the crew saw when they got there? A man standing on the beach, calmly and methodically shooting arrows straight at the helicopter. The island even ended up getting bigger because the seabed rose up from the quake, but the people were still alive and well. Now just imagine instead of that helicopter, some regular tourist with a simple runny nose tries to paddle up to the island. Or remember what happened back in 2018. That American missionary who decided he wanted to bring the word to them. He was killed with arrows right there on the beach. This isn't about them being cruel or mean for no reason. This is literally their way of staying alive. They don't have any real immunity to almost any of the diseases we carry around every day. Stuff like the flu, measles, or even a regular cold. For them, catching something as ordinary as a cold could easily turn into a full-blown epidemic that wipes out the entire tribe. That's exactly why they attack and kill anyone who gets too close. No exceptions at all. And this strategy has been working for them for thousands of years. Back in the 90s, the Indian authorities were still trying to make some kind of peaceful contact with them. They would drop gifts from helicopters, things like coconuts, plastic buckets, and even a live pig. The people took the coconuts. They also took the red buckets. But they threw the green buckets away. They killed the pig but didn't eat the meat. Instead, they buried it together with a doll. It's pretty clear they just don't understand who we are or why we keep coming around. To them, we're these strange, pale-skinned people who sometimes show up with food and other times seem like a serious threat. And right here is where things start getting really fascinating. We're living in this modern era where it feels like everything on the planet has already been discovered and mapped out. Satellites are constantly taking pictures of every single square meter in real time. But the reality is totally different. There are still places out there that we either can never reach, or if we do manage to get there, we might end up seriously regretting it. The Sentinelese represent just one of the most dramatic examples of how both nature and human decisions can keep entire worlds hidden and protected. But there are many other white spots on our planet as well. Under the massive 3-kilometer thick ice sheet that covers much of Greenland, advanced radar surveys have revealed the existence of real ancient rivers and valleys that existed millions of years ago, back in a time when the island was not yet completely locked under ice. It's kind of like having a time machine that lets us see landscapes from millions of years ago. Even more incredible is what's going on in Antarctica. Under the thick ice, there are these ancient lakes that have been completely sealed off for millions of years. It's possible that microorganisms are still living in those lakes today, totally isolated from everything else on the planet. Some places were deliberately hidden by people for serious reasons. The island known as Vozrojdeniya in the Aral Sea was used during Soviet times as a closed, secret testing ground for biological weapons. Open-air tests involving anthrax and other dangerous pathogens were conducted there. The spores were buried in specially prepared pits. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the base was shut down. However, as the Aral Sea began to dry up rapidly, the island gradually turned into a peninsula connected to the mainland. Some of the burial sites were later cleaned up, but the simple fact that such a dangerous site now sits exposed remains shocking. Another method that has long been used to hide information is the deliberate censorship or blurring of certain areas on publicly available maps. If you spend time exploring Google Earth, you can still find numerous blurred or pixelated zones over military bases, nuclear facilities, or strategic communication stations. A 2008 leak at the French Tricastin nuclear power plant isn't shown with real detail on public maps. Interestingly, the same locations often appear completely clear when viewed on Yandex Maps or other services. There have been cases where a blurred field on Google turned out to be a helicopter landing pad when checked on a different map. Certain locations remain inaccessible for political or natural reasons. Mount Kankar Punsum, standing at 7,570 meters, is currently the highest unclimbed peak anywhere in the world. It sits on the disputed border between Bhutan and China. 4 expeditions tried to climb it in the 1980s, and all failed. Bhutan then banned climbing peaks higher than 6,000 meters, and China restricts access. The mountain remains completely unconquered. Without question, the single largest unexplored white spot on our planet is the floor of the world's oceans. Only about 27 to 28% of the global ocean floor has been mapped with modern multi-beam sonar. Most mapped areas are shallow shelves. Accurate seafloor maps help predict tsunamis much better because underwater landslides, volcanoes, and mountain ranges strongly influence how waves propagate. They also help explain old mysteries like Atlantis or the Bermuda Triangle through real geology instead of myths. Sometimes major scientific discoveries happen without expensive expeditions. You can do it from your computer. Back in 2012, British biologist Julian Bayliss noticed a strange green circle on a mountain in Mozambique while looking at satellite images. It turned out to be an ancient volcanic crater containing a completely untouched tropical forest, isolated by steep cliffs on all sides. The expedition discovered several new species of butterflies, amphibians, crabs, and small mammals that science had never seen before, all in the 21st century simply by carefully studying Google Earth. There are also places that are densely populated but still feel almost completely unknown to outsiders. The favelas of Rio de Janeiro are chaotic mazes of houses stacked on top of each other. Many lack official addresses, mail delivery, or garbage collection. The views from some windows are breathtaking, but for an outsider, the wrong turn can quickly become dangerous. Beautiful and risky at the same time. Islands come and go. In the 1970s, Newmore Island rose between India and Bangladesh. Both countries claimed it, planted flags, and India occupied it. Decades later, it sank back under the waves, and the ownership question resolved itself naturally. In the Pacific, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a swirling mass of plastic trash roughly 3 times the size of France, is not solid land but debris caught in ocean currents. Some activists jokingly register citizenship there to highlight pollution. The Maldives built a real artificial island from waste that is now officially on maps and increases their territory. The more advanced our tools become, the more clearly we see the paradox. The better we can observe the world, the more we realize how much still remains hidden. A perfect map of any territory would have to be exactly the same size as the territory itself. Obviously impossible. That means there will always be new things left to discover, whether through real expeditions to remote craters, studying satellite photos from your living room, or reading the latest research with fresh eyes. So if you know about any places that are still basically white spots on the map, or spots that most people have never even heard of, go ahead and write them down in the comments below. We promise to read every single one and pick the most interesting for future videos. If you enjoyed this, please tell your friends about it and subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring together just how much of our world is still waiting to be discovered. As for me, I'm planning to take a little trip soon. Sometimes it's good to step away from the screens for a while. I'll see you all again in a couple of weeks. Take care, everyone. And remember, don't be afraid to sometimes look just a little bit beyond the edge of the map.